Hi, everybody. I'm here in Charlotte and I'm with Mayor Lyles. And today we're going to talk about homelessness and affordable housing. Can you tell me a little bit about homelessness here in Charlotte?
I expect that in Charlotte you see what you see in other urban communities. As the world begins to change and people don't find jobs in the rural areas, or they come to the urban areas, and I think most people come with a really great positive intent. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to be able to live here. But in some cases that doesn't happen, and they find themselves, what I like to think about is homelessness is really kind of a spiral. You start out with, I've got everything, and then the next thing you know, you're in the car. The next thing, there's no car, and then you're just in a situation where you're in a shelter. We see that in our city. We're a growing southeastern city, Sun Belt, and we are seeing people come here, and homelessness is a part of our just natural growth. I've worked on housing and homelessness since 1975, when we had a court order to deal with urban renewal. And for me to sit here many years later and still be talking about this means that this problem is very, very difficult for urban areas to solve. And even when solving it, it often just means that there is a spotlight where people are still looking for the ability to live, and sometimes they can't achieve that.
Yeah, yeah. From my understanding, Charlotte's growing. You have a lot of people coming here, and it's the same problem in many cities where you're seeing this economic growth, but it's also driving up housing costs. And the lack of affordable housing is right now the leading cause of homelessness.
I do think the lack of affordable housing is the leading cause of homelessness. But I like to also think it's because of the wage inequity that we have in this country. And many times you can be the hardest worker in the world, you can be one of the smartest people in the world, but if you can't get a job that helps with covering the cost of housing and health care, you can often end up homeless. I've seen examples. This past year, we had an example of a young man going to work every night in a restaurant and going home to a tent.
Right.
Outside. And it wasn't because he wasn't industrious and didn't want. It was because there's not enough money in the $8 an hour jobs in a city that's like ours, where we are a high-tech financial center, and we're building great apartments for the millennials that are coming with skills, a lot of the technology skills, the financing skills, or they're coming with the ability to get that job. If you're coming here and you didn't graduate from high school, or you work in the hospitality industry often, in healthcare often, that will make it very hard for you. We've got rents that start at studio at $1,100, when we know that families should be paying $600, $700.
Right. And it's also affecting the growing senior population. I'm 58. I lost everything in the '08 recession, and if I wasn't doing this, it would be extremely hard for me to get a job. And the boomers are hitting 65 at 10,000 people a day, or 10,000 a day, and that's also putting a tax on the safety net.
Well, you likely know the history, the idea that there would be Social Security, but the idea was that you would be able to work and own your home by the time you got to that point, and that Social Security wasn't to cover the housing costs, it was to cover the cost of daily living. Well, right now, that's not the case. We know that many seniors have worked for a very long time, and with the inflation and the cost of living, there's nothing compared to that's going to rescue Social Security and make it possible for people to live in Charlotte.
And everywhere, as you said, and I hate this term, working homeless. There's more and more people that are living in tents or living in shelters that are holding down full-time jobs but just cannot afford a place to to live.
In Charlotte, one of the travesties that we have is that we can have people working 1 and 2 jobs and be paying more to weekly hotels than they would if they had a place that was affordable to live. And that's a consequence. Every action you take has a consequence. So we have children that the buses for our school district, they have to go to all the hotels to pick up kids. How do you create that stability in a child's life? So I think that when you get to really know the homeless and the working poor population, it is because of our economy and the way we're structured that many of them are homeless. Now we're trying to do something about it here in Charlotte. I'm most proud of our city's commitment. We had a bond referendum for $50 million to create houses that people could live in affordably, and we had a 69% approval rating. That means people understand that's a problem in our city, and I'm really grateful that they are supportive of our initiatives. What I've learned as mayors, you have to get the work done no matter who caused it, no matter how much history is behind it. You have to look at that problem today and focus and concentrate on it. So with that $50 million of public bond funding for new housing, we went to the private sector and said, this is our problem. This isn't government's problem. It is a community problem. And we have been able, with the private sector, the philanthropic community, our faith communities, to have an additional $50 million to supplement the money that we have. Every effort, all of us need to be putting forth that effort. Because if we can do something about putting someone into a home, they have the ability to apply for a job. They have stability for their families. And we want that for everyone in our city. Charlotte can be that city.
And by housing people at risk of being homeless, or people that are out on the streets, chronic homeless, you actually save money because there's a reduction of emergency services, hospital visits, police, EMT, and as you said, by preventing homelessness in the first place and getting, kids some stability in this crazy world of ours, it's something we should be doing anyways, but it's also fiscally smart.
It is. It's been proven in every study that's been ever done about people that are on the street, costing more for your police officers, costing more for your healthcare services. That's just a basic premise. What I think we have to think about is when we are going to look further down the road, are we doing something that creates a community that's inclusive and welcoming of everyone? Or are we just saying, well, we're going to fix this little problem, but we aren't the kind of community that really changes lives. So getting a house is just the small part. We're trying to change people's lives.
You get it.
Well, I hope so.
You do. And you said something I think that is really important, and where I've been seeing communities have the most success is when they get the business, philanthropic, faith-based organizations and government. I mean, not everybody's going to always agree, but if we pool our resources and start working as a community and developing community-wide solutions, that's when we have impact in ending homelessness.
It makes a real difference. We have a crisis assistance program that we've had for over 50 years in this community. We help people with their utility bills. We help them when perhaps they've been laid off or the hours have been reduced to pay their rents or pay their mortgages. And we've been doing that for a long time. But when we looked at our 10-year housing plan to address homelessness, we saw that we were working with people that were just always a little bit short because of the wages that they made. And then we had to really begin to think, how are we going to care for the homeless? And Charlotte's faith community has been tremendous. They provide shelters in the winter that you can't build shelters for the space and need, especially in the winters. And they open their community centers, they open their gymnasiums, and they bring people in and they feed and they have a place to sleep. Charlotte wants to be a place where when you come here and you're homeless, that you're not just getting a roof over your head, but you're also getting services that would help. And that's why we have a coordinated effort with Urban Ministries, our ministries program, as well as our Salvation Army. As I said, it's about services, but you have to have a place to be, a bed to sleep in, before you can start talking about what's next.
Yeah. I've taken up enough of your time, and it sure is hot.
It is very hot.
Oh my
here.
gosh.
It is a very hot time.
I occasionally go to Winston-Salem from time to time, but I've never been during the summer. So this has been an experience for me.
Well, I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. It's always 10 degrees hotter than Charlotte, so I think I'm okay. But you know, we think about weather and we think about a lot of things. When I come into the office as mayor, I think about how do we make sure people have a place to live? How do we make sure that they can have a place to work? And how do we move them around the city so that they can do that well?
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you had anything else that you would like to add, and that was a perfect closing.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my
talk
gosh.
About something that I'm proud of this community. I'm proud of my city, Charlotte, and what we're doing.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and thanks all of you for watching. Down below, there's a link for you to click on where you can contact your state and federal legislators to tell them that ending homelessness and more affordable housing is a priority to you.
Please.
So invisiblepeople.tv/get involved. There's a link down below. Please click on it. Your voice matters.